Why Joe Biden might just find himself out of a job come 2025. With the political winds swirling faster than well, you get the idea. Several storm clouds suggest a bumpy road ahead for the president. So buckle up, buttercups, let's break it down. Let's address the elephant, or perhaps more accurately, the donkey in the room, Joe Biden's age. Now, I'm all for celebrating our senior citizens. They deserve our respect, our admiration, and frankly, a decent discount at the cinema. After all, they've lived through decades of change and have a wealth of experience. But when you're talking about the leader of the free world, someone who has to deal with Putin on a Tuesday, and then negotiate a trade deal with China on a Wednesday, stamina becomes a bit of a concern. The demands of the presidency are relentless and unforgiving. At 82 years old, Biden would be the oldest president to ever seek re-election. This isn't just a trivial fact. It brings up serious questions about endurance and capability. That's not just older than America itself. That's older than the first draft of the Constitution. Older than the concept of democracy itself. It's a staggering thought when you put it into historical context. And while I'm sure Mr. Biden does his best to stay spry power walking around the White House, maybe chasing after a rogue ice cream cone, the fact remains, the presidency takes a toll. The physical and mental demands are immense. The late nights, the constant scrutiny, the sheer weight of the job, it ages you. It's a role that requires not just experience, but also vitality and resilience. It's like being on a transatlantic flight that never lands, except instead of free pretzels, you get classified briefings and the constant threat of nuclear annihilation. The pressure is unrelenting and the stakes are incredibly high. So, naturally, people are starting to wonder, does Biden have the juice, the stamina, the sheer will to power through another 4 years? Can he handle the grueling pace and the ceaseless demands? It's a fair question, and one that voters will undoubtedly be asking themselves come election time. The decision will hinge not just on policies, but on the perceived ability to endure the rigors of the office. You know the old saying, it's the economy, stupid? Well, it's more relevant now than ever. People vote with their wallets, and right now, a lot of those wallets are feeling a little light. The economic strain is palpable. Inflation is doing its best impression of a runaway hot air balloon, soaring higher and higher with no end in sight. Gas prices are higher than giraffe ankles at a limbo contest, making every trip to the pump a painful experience. And don't even get me started on the price of eggs. It's like they've turned into a luxury item overnight. It feels like we're all just one unexpected car repair away from a full-blown financial meltdown. The stress is real and it's affecting everyone. Now, whether or not you think Biden deserves all the blame for this economic roller coaster is a matter of opinion. The debate is heated and opinions are divided. But one thing's for sure, fair or not, incumbents often end up wearing the economic pain. It's a tough spot to be in. It's like being the captain of a ship during a particularly nasty storm. The waves are crashing and the wind is howling. You might not have steered the ship into the storm, but you better believe the passengers are going to hold you responsible for getting them out of it. Leadership comes with heavy accountability, and if they don't like the way you're handling the lifeboats, well, let's just say they might be looking for a new captain come next election. The stakes are high and the voters are watching closely. Let's talk about approval ratings, shall we? You know, those magical numbers that go up and down like a yo-yo depending on whether the president has remembered to put his pants on that day. Now, presidential approval ratings are a fickle beast. They're influenced by everything from the price of gasoline to the latest celebrity scandal. But one thing's for certain, low approval ratings are about as welcome for a president as a flat tire on a cross-country road trip. And unfortunately for Joe, his numbers have been stuck in a rut deeper than a teenager's laundry basket. It's like trying to climb out of a well using only a spoon and a pair of shoelaces. Possible, I guess, but not exactly ideal. And historically speaking, low approval ratings haven't exactly been a recipe for electoral success. In fact, they're often a pretty good indicator that the incumbent should probably start updating their resume. Chapter 4. The Red Wave Cometh? On the other side of the aisle, we have the Republicans, and let me tell you, they are energized. It's like they've been mainlining Red Bull and watching clips of Ronald Reagan speeches on repeat. They're fired up, they're ready to rumble, and they're smelling blood in the water. Now, who will emerge as the chosen one to lead the charge against Biden? Will it be the Teflon Don himself, Donald J. Trump, back for round 2? Or perhaps a younger, slicker model like Ron DeSantis, who's been busy turning Florida into his own personal conservative utopia? Only time will tell. But one thing's for sure, Whoever it is, they're going to be a force to be reckoned with. They'll have the full weight of the Republican Party behind them, a war chest overflowing with campaign donations from billionaires and corporations, and a base that's more motivated than a honey badger at a picnic. Chapter 5. Democrats United, We Stand, or something like that. Meanwhile, back in the Democratic camp, things are a little, well, let's just say they're not exactly one big happy family. There's a lot of passion, but not always in the same direction. It's less kumbaya and more, can't we all just get along? The tension is palpable and the debates are heated. You see, the Democratic Party is a bit like a bag of chips right now. A lot of different flavors, all crammed into one bag, and not always agreeing on what the best dipping sauce is. Some want salsa, others prefer guacamole, and a few are all about the queso. You've got your progressives, your moderates, your centrists, your independents who are sort of Democrats but not really sure. It's enough to make your head spin. Each group has its own vision for the future and they don't always align. And this internal squabbling, this constant tug of war between different factions, it can make it really hard to present a united front. It's a balancing act that requires a lot of negotiation and compromise. It's like trying to win a football game when half your team wants to run the ball and the other half wants to throw it. The strategy is all over the place and it shows on the field. Sure, you might score a touchdown every now and then, but it's not exactly a recipe for consistent success. The challenge is finding a way to harness all that energy and passion into a cohesive game plan that everyone can get behind. Chapter 6. The world is watching and wincing. Finally, let's talk about foreign policy. Because you know what they say, it's a big world out there, and it's full of people who are not us. And sometimes, those people can be a real pain in the... well, you get the idea. Now, foreign policy is rarely a top issue for voters. It's like the boring cousin at a family reunion. You know they exist, but you'd rather spend your time talking to someone more interesting. But that doesn't mean it's not important. Because when it comes to things like war, peace, and the global economy, the president's decisions have real-world consequences. And unfortunately for Biden, his foreign policy track record has been a bit of a mixed bag. The chaotic withdrawal from Afghanistan, the ongoing tensions with Russia and China, the fact that we're somehow still embroiled in various conflicts around the world, it's enough to make even the most seasoned diplomat reach for a stiff drink. Outrow. So, there you have it. The challenge is facing Joe Biden as he stares down the barrel of a potential re-election bid. It's a daunting list, to be sure, and one that would give even the most seasoned politician pause. But as we all know, the political landscape is about as predictable as a toddler on a sugar rush. Things can change in an instant. A major crisis, a sudden scandal, a viral moment that captures the nation's attention. Any of these things could upend the entire race. Will Biden be able to overcome these hurdles and secure a second term? Or will he be relegated to the history books, remembered as a one-term president who just couldn't quite seal the deal?